Greetings viewers and welcome to today's info sharing snippet. We'll be covering the feature of groups within Sage Evolution. Now groups can be used for a variety of different features, and we're covering the focus of groups within customers module, suppliers module, and the inventory module. If we start off with first going to customers maintenance, we then have the ability to set up groups. If you add a group, I'm able to specify a group code, a group description. And what you notice is that we can link general ledger accounts to our groups. So, for example, if you may have more than one supplier or customer control account, you can then link them to specific groups. And then when processing transactions to customers within their group, the relevant GL accounts will be updated. So we can start off with creating a group. And then I can specify a control account there. A local account. And then I can create a group for international customers. And then link this particular group to my international control account specifically for international customers. And I can update my groups, and I've got my groups created. Next option would be to go to our customer master file and then edit the individual customer accounts and link them to the relevant groups. You notice is that within the customer's master file, I've got a group option, and I'm then going to go link this customer to the group, and I can then continue and link the various customers to the various groups that have been created. And I'm just going to go through to an international customer or foreign currency customer and link that customer to an international group of customers. Now, if you look at our transaction types, for example, under invoicing, you notice is that when an invoice is processed within the customers module, it would update the receivables control account, the sales account, the VAT control account, etc. However, within Evolution, we do have a two-tier structure whereby the group settings override the default settings. So in this particular instance, if we were to process an invoice to a customer linked to a specific group, the system will go validate that the customer is in fact part of a group, validate if there are general ledger accounts within that group, and if there are, then use those GL accounts in processing the particular transaction. So just go back to our groups, and if you just take, for example, international, you'll see we have a customer control international control account linked to this particular group. I'm now going to go process a transaction under customers, under standard, and I'm going to go specify the international customer or the foreign currency customer, which has been linked to my international group. I'm going to pick up the invoicing transaction code, and I'm then going to insert the details. And process the transaction. If we then go and inquire on the customer, we can see exactly what the impact is with the posting of the transaction due to the fact that the customer is now linked to a group. So under my customers, I'm now going to go inquire on the customer. There we have our transaction. And if I right click and I use the drill down feature, as you can see, there's that our customer control international control account has been updated together with the relevant other accounts. And based on the fact that the customer was linked to a group, has now used the GL accounts linked to that specific group. If you then look at our reports under customers, you'll notice is that we have the ability when running reports for customers to filter by customer group. So I can run the report and then obviously specify to view, for example, transactions or information based on the group filter. So very useful to implement groups for reporting purposes as well as differentiating customer groups, etc. If we then move over to our suppliers, we have a similar scenario where under maintenance we are able to specify or create our supplier groups. So under maintenance, I have my supplier groups, and once again I can specify a name and a code for the group. And in this particular instance, I'm able to specify a payables control account for the particular group. So an international payables control account that I'm linking to our local supplier, or I can just change that and make it international. Right, so I specified a different suppliers control account there, update the group details, and if I then go to my supplier transaction types, for example, invoices, you'll notice is that it's going to update the payables control account by default. However, if I were to process an invoice to a supplier linked to a specific group, it would then update the dual accounts linked to that specific group. So I would then need to go to my suppliers and edit the supplier, link the supplier to the relevant group. And I can link the supplier international group, and then when processing transactions, the system will then update the general ledger accounts linked to that particular group. And then once again, under our reports, we also have the ability to run supplier reports and then use the group filter option. If we then move over to our inventory, we are able to create groups for our inventory items. Under inventory maintenance groups, we can then go and add. And once again, it's a case giving it the group, specifying a code for the group. And what you notice is that when it comes to inventory groups, you can specify a sales account, cost of sales account, inventory account, purchases cost variance account, inventory adjustment, inventory cost variance account, a work in progress account for a specific group. Right, so I've specified my information there, and now I'm going to go link a sales account to this group. So you may have, for example, multiple sales accounts that you could then go and link to the different groups and then run reports based on those particular groups. Let's just go and find a stock account which is applicable to the group. And then, if necessary, we could also specify cost of sales account, adjustment account, etc. So I've got my details there, and I can complete the process. If we then look at our transaction types under inventory and take, for example, a GRV transaction type, the default transaction type is going to update the stock account and my accruals account when processing transactions. And once again, the same scenario applies whereby the group settings override the default settings in processing transactions. If I then go and create an inventory item, I'm going to add the item. and insert the details. And under my information tab, I can then link the item to a specific group. So I'm then going to go link it to the group that I've created, which has been updated with the relevant GL accounts. And I'm going to complete the process there of my new stock item. Now, if you look at, for example, a stock item that is a warehouse item, just go edit this item, which happens to be a warehouse item. Under the information tab, we do have a group setting. However, under our warehouses, we have multiple warehouses where the item is situated. If I edit a specific warehouse, you'll notice is that we also have a group setting per warehouse. So for example, I can then go and link a specific item to a group with a specific warehouse. And I can then go to this following warehouse and once again specify a different group setting there. So the whole idea here is that you can have one item, which is a warehouse item, in multi-warehouses, and then within those multi-warehouses, the item could be linked to different groups. So therefore, there is a certain amount of flexibility when setting up groups for warehouse items. So currently, we've got our item, which we've linked to our group. And let's just go and process a GRV transaction. So I'm going to go to my transactions, goods received voucher. And there we go. And then I can simply use the receive stock option. And let's just go check the impact that has had based on the fact that the item was linked to a group. So I'm going to go to my inventory items. Inquire on the item. And there we have our transaction. And if I right click and use the drill down option, you'll see that the stock appliances controller or stock appliances account has been updated together with the purchases accrual. So in this particular instance, the group settings have been used instead of the default settings, as there have been GL accounts which are linked to a specific group. If we then go to our inventory reports, and we look at, for example, a transactions report, you notice is that we can use the groups feature there, and once again also filter reports based on groups. So as you can see, groups are a very useful feature to implement, be they customer groups, supplier groups, and inventory groups. And we are able then to go and view reports or filter reports based on group filters. And very importantly, just to remember is that if you have groups set up and you do have GL accounts linked to those groups, the group settings override the default settings with regards to transaction types, etc. I do hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you for tuning in. It's over and out for me, and goodbye.